Welcome, everyone, to the Gray Matters podcast. My name is Josh Perry.
And I'm Jackie Lauricella.
And Jackie and I just moved into a house. We just left our townhome where I spent 3 years. Jackie spent 2.
In Apex, North Carolina.
And now we're in Durham, North Carolina, a little northwest-ish of Raleigh.
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes away. But either way, we just felt inspired to chat about something that we've noticed. And one of the big reasons why we moved out of our townhome was to have more open space, more sunlight, rather than what the townhome limited us to, with just one window on one end of the townhome and another on the other end.
Yeah, like a weird dark tube. I did not like it.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and it's like taller than it is wide, and I feel like that's always a problem with windows and things like that as well.
And then my working from home or wherever I may be that has a Wi-Fi connection or cell phone service, spend a lot of time in the house rather than in an office, which is amazing, but started getting to the point where I felt really like cluttered, crowded, like confined to this space that had no sunlight. And especially the way the sun set and rose over our townhome, it was not ideal for the windows.
Like our windows were like north and south, and like clearly the sun is not rising in the north and setting in the south. So it was not ideal. We didn't get a lot of natural light, and it was very compact and cramped. Everything felt like it was a hallway. And what stinks is I think the biggest like spaces were in the bedrooms, and we don't
really care to have that much space in the bedroom. I'd rather have more like space in the living area, the common areas, the office, the dining room, which we're recording this off the dining table in the dining room. That is actually my temporary office while we set up the office, but this may stay because it's pretty organized.
I like it.
And
it looks okay.
I like having all this light and open space, but I guess the point of this conversation that we wanted to share was we were talking about, and it kind of sums up previous, I'm not sure how many episodes ago, maybe 2 to 4 ago, but on self-awareness. And although we can't be a victim to our environment does influence the way we think, act, and feel. Yeah. And being very self-aware of our triggers and what we desire versus what we don't enjoy, this opportunity to move into this house and be closer to Jackie's work and all the things that we do regularly visit, it all just, I guess, panned out to be for the better. Yeah. And just feeling this sense of, I guess, openness and space. And it just does something different for the mindset.
Yeah, I personally really enjoy change as well. And I think that when your life is like going well and like I've got a consistent boyfriend and life partner, and my job is great, and so big aspects of like that of my life aren't going to change. So I find that like changing my space is very comforting to me, like moving furniture, like rearranging stuff. But the way the townhome was,
we couldn't do that.
We couldn't. Like there was no option like to do it like the way everything was shaped. It was like this really bizarre like L-shaped living room. There was just nowhere to
which
like
would be
rearrange.
Fine if like part of that L wasn't bordered to the kitchen with the island, or not the island, but like the whatever you call it, the counter. Yeah, I guess an island. But like the way that was permanent, so you couldn't move that. And then the fireplace was in the corner on an angle, so it was like there was just no way. But either way,
it was just really difficult. And
this is a little bit more open.
The townhome was dialed. It had everything that we needed. It had all the storage we needed. The garage was huge, and we were able to park both of our cars in it and also have room for storage, and
super functional.
Yeah, so we were hesitant to leave for a really long time, but this just worked out really well, and I kind of was just like, we need to get out. And as soon as we did and we moved in here, we both were like, this feels really good. Like that was kind of our consensus, like this feels really nice. And my friend Michael, and if you've listened to the former podcast, it's Michael Anthony from The Diviner Life, sent me over a little ebook about preparing a space and clearing a space before you move in. And a big thing for me, it's like, this house is old, like let's make sure
actually
we
Michael's it'll be previous to this episode. It's just coming out next week from from this current
From
moment
right
in time
now.
when we're recording this, we just put out the self-awareness episode this current week, not where you're listening. The following week after that is Michael Ray's episode. So it's,
there you go.
yeah, that's perfect.
But like I sage the space, and it's about setting good intentions and feeling like just kind of trusting your intuition or your gut. And if you ever like walk into a room and you just feel tension and you feel kind of tense, like there's just some negative space in there that needs to be cleared out. So I felt it was very cleansing for us to do that before we really, really settled. And I think that like nesting and establishing a home is really important for me and my mental health.
Well, yeah, because you moved in to the townhome with me after I'd already been there a year.
Yeah.
And this place we moved in together, and we got little Cheddar now, who's 5.5 months old.
This feels more homey to me.
2 days from today.
Yeah.
He'll be 5.5 months old. And yeah, it just feels more of like our spot, and we're able to maneuver things the way we want based on the shape being more of a square and certain areas a rectangle rather than a weird L that's manipulated into a permanent fixture based on that shape.
Yeah. I like that. It felt really temporary to me at the townhome. Like I even did things like painted the bedroom and stuff like that to make it feel more, but we had like weird restrictions. Like our landlord didn't want us to have a dog, and he was going to charge us a crazy amount in order to have a dog.
He just wanted $1,000 a year to have a dog.
Yeah, essentially, like increased rent plus a non-refundable deposit, and I just felt like it was a little outlandish, especially because honestly, Cheddar hasn't damaged anything that we have. He hasn't like chewed anything he wasn't supposed to. He hasn't like done crazy things to the doors or the walls or the floors. Like he's a perfect little angel, and we really lucked out. So
yeah. And so my favorite part of this new home is just the space and like the windows and being able to see outside and having light like shine through the entire house rather than just like one little section. And then being able to have like a sense of, well, not like a sense, but like having the space to have friends and family like over and not feel cluttered, and like just like be able to like just have people over if we want. But like it's just that feeling, and it triggers our thoughts and our actions and all these things. And like it just, I always felt like I was caved in at the other place, and I always wanted to leave, but then I was like, well, I can't take a call in a public. And so it's just like now it's just like
this is so much better. Yeah, it's so much nicer. And there's a little yard for Cheddar to play in, and
no real change to our rent either. Like we're still paying about the same amount, just $25 more each, which I think is well worth it.
And I'm 25 minutes closer to work than I was before, which is a big positive, because a 40-minute drive to work is just...
That's 40 minutes at least. That's not including if you get out at a weird time with traffic, or you go to work at a weird time. So it's just nice. It's nice overall.
Yeah.
And so what would you say the theme for this conversation would be? Because it started out with just new spaces, and like
it's like a touch on self-awareness again. Like if you feel weird or uncomfortable in your space, then you need to do something about it. And whether that's like preparing your space or clearing your space or changing your space, like making yourself feel better in your environment is so important and so vital, because you don't want your environment to influence how you feel, but it does, and take control of that by changing what you don't like. And I think that that's the most common theme that I would want to bring to this conversation. Like, be aware of your space and take control of your space.
It should be clear that your environment is internal and external, and our external environment, which is the world, the people in it, the content we consume, the places we go, our living space, our workspace, our school space, like all these things influence our internal environment. And if we're just starting to become conscious or aware of our internal environment, the way we think, act, and feel, it's going to be hard to not let our external environment affect our internal, like our state of being, our personality, who we are, how we show up, and how we predict our tomorrow. And we were in a good space mentally where we were aware of these things and we made it work for a while. And then it got to a point where this opportunity arose for us to make the change, but also we were mentally and physically ready to make the change. It all just kind of worked out. But it's just important to be aware of that. We have an internal and external environment, and they both influence one another, sometimes more one way than the other. But at the end of the day, if you're conscious of that, you're self-aware, which self-awareness is different to everyone, which Josh, Jackie, and I all talked about our perspectives on it, which kind of similar perspectives, but different in their own ways. I mean, it's just really important to be aware of yourself, and that's a huge kick I'm on right now. I'm actually opening up this presentation I'm giving at the end of the month about the subconscious mind and our personality, our internal, external environments. And so just something we've been talking about, and just how we feel different, and that leads to doing different things. That's, and I guess a simple example of that is like, rather than waking up feeling in a similar state as you did the day before, and then not being as motivated, which is just an emotion, to do something, I find I'm super motivated to do things that I naturally already was doing and wanted to do. Just more
motivated now. I think also it's important to be aware of who you allow in your external environment and in your space.
100%.
It's something that we're cautious of. Like, people don't just come and stay with us in our house and things like that if we don't want them to. We don't just allow people to come over and hang out if they don't have a good vibe or a good energy, or if they're a negative person. Like, it's just not... It's something that we're very careful of our space, because it does leave a weird trace. And who knows, there was a lot of negativity that happened in the townhome, and maybe we just like felt that and it started to weigh on us. Like, it's where we did a lot of like mourning and grieving for your brother. Josh had a little bit more of a tumultuous relationship with his former roommate. So that might have like carried over and gotten a little heavy, but either way, I just felt like...
And then previous people there before.
Yeah, I just felt like the air was heavy in there, and it just wasn't ideal.
And this place legit got remodeled before we came in. So it was like everything was washed away that could have been in here, plus, what we did. And we got our good friend, my Aussie brother, Todd Mine, staying with us, and his friend Brandon Schmidt, and positive vibes, great people. We'll actually be talking with both of them. So after this episode, you'll probably hear from the both of them shortly after, if not right after. But just examples of good people we want in our environment. And actually, Todd and I were just talking about, our past relationships with different friends, similar friends, different friends, and just, as you grow and your mindset changes and you become aware of your internal, external environment and what triggers you have that put you out of alignment with how you want to show up and the life that you want to create. It's interesting to see friends and family, or strangers or coworkers, who you change up and allow into that space or not.
Right.
And Todd's creeping behind us because he thinks he's being loud, but he's not. But that's what we appreciate about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just really interesting, and I've become really aware of that, and it's created a lot of isolation for me in the past, just because I know I'm not going to be disrespectful in a situation, but I know my triggers and how I will respond to certain things or people or events. And so I try to avoid that situation from happening, because I know I'm not in the space to where I can't control my response. I'm in the space now where I'm controlling how long I choose to respond to a situation, whether that's internally how I feel or externally how I react. And that's something I've grown to appreciate and become aware of with Dr. Joe's work. It's not about you responding or not. That's inevitable. You're human.
Yeah.
It's about how long you choose to respond to an event.
And to sit in that negative energy. Yeah.
And if as long as it's 51% more of how you want and align with your vision, it can progress even more from there.
Yeah.
And so these are all factors of things I think we're experiencing right now, and I enjoy it.
Absolutely. And the overall theme, like I said, of this talk is protect your space and energy, and your external environment won't seem as, what's the word I want? Like uncontrollable, I guess. I think people surround themselves with people because they're like, oh, they're just a good time, or they're fun to have around, or they've just been my friend for so long. And the older I get, the more that just doesn't make sense to me. And it's the same thing with like
feels like an obligation.
Yeah, the same thing with like a physical space. Like, I felt like we were staying in that townhome out of convenience. Like,
oh yeah,
and it was like 100%. It got that way. Yeah, exactly.
It was going to be difficult, which we hustled. Yeah, we got packed, moved, just and everything unpacked in like 3 days.
Yeah, financial position and stuff like that. It's expensive to move, and it's not just like the moving truck. It's like the new deposit and the cleaning fees and this and that, and we have to get the carpets steam cleaned. And this worked out really well. But you shouldn't stay in any kind of situation or position out of convenience or obligation, whether it's physical environment or like energy environment, like the people you surround yourselves with. And that's really important to remember. If you don't like it, change it. Don't do it out of convenience or out of, it would be hard if I like stepped away from this. Just don't do that. Don't find yourself in that position.
Yeah, at the end of the day, your internal and external environment are a choice. And if you feel like it's not, and you're in the situation where it's like you've created this reality that is impossible to change, it's not. It's once you shift that thought process and that feeling, you'll see that there is options. There's always an option. There's always a choice to better. I guess the word better is a strong word, but like if you're unhappy with your reality, there's always an opportunity to change it because you woke up and you're alive. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what your reality is, you created it and you can change it. And obviously there's responsibility, especially if you got a family, like if you're married and you got kids or this and that mortgage, like you have responsibilities that you've created. But everyone has responsibilities they've created. Everyone has a reality that they're responsible for. But the determining factor in how my life has changed is the understanding, the awareness, the consciousness to that reality, but then also that you can change it. But it's about non-negotiables you have for yourself, your life, how you want to see your life, how you want to see how you show up, the people in your life, the events that take place, the experiences that you have, your living space, your education, your creativity, all these things is a choice.
Yes.
And you choose internally and externally what comes in and what goes. But it's about creating that awareness.
And just because somebody is family doesn't mean you are required to have them in your life. Just because somebody has been your friend for 20 years and they are in a really terrible place doesn't mean you're required to have them in your life. It's not your job to fix people. It's not your job to pull people into your environment and create chaos in your own life in order to help someone else.
That doesn't mean you have to shame or, kick people out of your life. It's just maybe you got to take a step back for a minute.
Yeah.
And not
take a pause.
Yeah. I mean, and I've gone through that with friends and family. And then, at the end of the day, we're all on our own journey.
Yeah.
And the ability to love and respect everyone for where they are in their journey and to not judge, I think that shows a ton outward that people start to recognize, because change is inevitable, but it's unfamiliar to the body and the mind, so people freak out and their perception of you may change, and that makes them respond differently. But understanding that and how you trigger yourself or how you may do things, it's not forever. It's just really understanding how you operate and how you respond, and then who you want to allow in the majority of the time. It doesn't mean like if your mom sets you off, like avoid your mom. It's like, hey, just maybe find a different space to meet with your mom, or
set boundaries. Like, okay, like come over for dinner, but we're not going to talk about this. Like just set clear boundaries, and like we're not going to talk about this because it makes me feel X, Y, and Z. So let's just not bring it up. Okay, mutual understanding. And then if it's their choice to like say or do those things, you have to like stay true to your boundaries. I think with that's friends. The biggest.
It doesn't matter if you see them every day or coworkers. Like it's just about, honestly, if you can be conscious of how you show up.
Yeah.
It's not about other people. It's about you.
Well, it's more about your environment. You don't have to shun people. That's not 100% what I meant about, just because they're your family doesn't mean they have to be in your life. It's more like you set boundaries for yourself to cultivate an environment that's good for you mentally and physically in the best way possible, because it's hard for you to be there for people that you love if you're not at your best. So there's no point in like dragging yourself down and like spreading yourself so thin and giving too much of yourself to help people and not take care of yourself, because then there's not enough to go around.
Oxygen mask analogy. If you put your oxygen mask on first, how are you going to be helpful if you're passed out?
Yeah. I guess I just feel like physical space, like the house you live in, the place you're staying, it's also directly influenced by the people and the energy you have around you. Mm-hmm. different cities are into different things. They have a different vibe to them. Like, go to a city that resonates with you. Surround yourself with people that are on similar paths. Set boundaries for people that are maybe on a different path, and you'll meet again. It doesn't mean you have to kick them out of your life. And if you don't like your environment, change it.
Yeah, Jarek Robbins, Tony Robbins' son, at Keto Academy back in Orlando in May, he was talking about something that was really interesting to me. He moved to I think he moved to New York or some city with his wife and his kids, and someone asked him like, "Oh, did you move here for work?" He was like, "No, we moved here because we wanted to."
Yeah,
I'm fortunate enough that I can work wherever I want, but a lot of people I find are confined to their space, whether it's their workspace, the town they live in, wherever, because of these things like their work. And it's really interesting. What if you moved somewhere you truly wanted to and found out how to work there, change your job, create your own business, things like that. So it's just about being mindful of the desire you have for your life and the vision, and are your actions and choices aligned. It doesn't mean if you like audit your life and then 90% of your reality is not aligned with the vision you have for your life, that it's going to happen overnight and you need to stop everything right away. It's just about making a tactical action item plan and setting goals and working towards it. And
sometimes location comes first and then everything else falls into place afterwards.
Or it could be the complete opposite. There's no right or wrong. It's just about what do you want, and the how and the when will find its way the more you focus on what it is you want and become aware of who you are, what you think, how you feel, how you act, things like that. And
new and different is not always bad, even if it's scary at first.
That's another episode we'll have to do about.
Yeah, we'll have to touch on that.
About that.
I think, it goes back to what we said about staying in a place out of convenience. There's also an element of, well, that's new and different and scary, and it might not work out, or this or that, or say you go and you try something and you're living in a new place, but you're homesick or whatever. It's just so normal to feel those things. And us living in North Carolina, I miss my family a lot in Florida, but I know that time away from them will make me stronger and more independent. And I love where I live right now, but when the time comes, I might go back, but I'm not going to rob myself of an opportunity to grow as a person and to enjoy new things and to adapt to a completely different physical and emotional surrounding,
And Dr. Ryan Lowry is trying to get us to move to Tampa, so that's in the process of manifesting over the next couple of years.
He hasn't mentioned it in a minute, has he?
He did the other week. He sent you a job application, one of his friends, but when the time is right, we never know. We love North Carolina now, but I like the beach. I like nice weather, so it's all good. But
I like the beach.
Yeah. I like Jackie's family.
Yeah, they're cool.
My mom lives out there now too. My aunt lives out there. My grandmother lives in South Carolina. So yeah, it's just my dad and his side of the family are up in the Northeast still complaining about the weather, but
they can come down on vacation with us.
Yeah, I don't think they'd mind that.
No.
But yeah, we just felt impelled. Is that the right word? Why do I want to say impelled?
I don't
compelled.
know. Compelled.
That's
I was like, that sounds weird.
I had a brain fart for a second. But yeah, I just felt compelled to share that because it kind of leads off of the episode we just posted this morning. So if you listen to this now, it's probably not relevant timing-wise, but self-awareness, episode 12, I believe.
Also environmental awareness, physical and energetic.
I believe self-awareness is internal and external.
Awareness.
That's all the factors we talked about, actually. So yeah, we just felt good. We just felt like sharing, and
we're so happy in our new space.
Yeah,
and we just wanted to encourage other people to like take those steps and maybe step back and notice, oh, we're here out of convenience and this is annoying. We don't really want to be here.
And that could be your job. That could be your school. That could be your team. That could be whatever.
It could be your house.
It could be anything beyond just living space.
Yeah.
Your external environment is anything outside of your body and internally, So
we're so
I feel like
happy.
we're repeating ourselves.
Yeah, we're so happy we made the choice.
Another episode we'll have to do on your personality and how that creates your personal reality. But yeah, we're just really happy here. We feel good.
And we want you to encourage you to make similar decisions and just shake things up, like do things that are different. Unless you're completely happy, then.
Yeah, this is a roadmap for people that aren't 100% happy.
Yeah.
And that's something that Gary Vee's content took me a minute to figure out.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If you're happy, you're winning. you don't need to optimize anything.
Right.
Like, just keep doing what you're doing. But when the time comes that you're not fulfilled with something, then that's where this stuff,
Fix it.
and we're actively working on. I argue everyone's always actively working on themselves. But yeah, this is a roadmap if you want it. If not, just keep doing what you're doing.
So thanks so much for tuning in.
Yeah, if you listen to this whole episode, all 25 minutes or so now, we appreciate you. We know time is valuable. We appreciate your time. We respect your time. If you guys have any questions, any thoughts, any ideas, whatever, just leave us a comment, send us a DM. Our information will be, depending on where you're watching this or listening to this, in the description below. And we just want to hear from you guys, and we want to be voices of support, because we don't want people to feel alone. And we say this, I feel like, every time, but that's our main goal, is to feel like people aren't alone, aren't weird. I think we're all weird, but I think it's a positive thing.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate you guys, and
very grateful. I'm Jackie Lauricella.
And I'm Josh Perry, and we'll talk to you guys in the next episode.
Yeah.